I'm going to break down the realistic path to tech sales roles that pay you $300,000 a year plus, and exactly how long it actually takes to get there. This career path is blowing up right now, and for good reason, but I want to give you the honest version and not the hyped one. Here's where I'm coming from. I didn't take some polished straight line route here. I grew up the west of Sydney, raised by my grandparents, and in 2019, I was working 6 different jobs and still only making 55 grand that whole year. Then I got into tech sales as an SDR, and over the past 7 years, I personally earned over $1.5 million, which completely changed the trajectory of my life. But let me be honest, because a lot of the content out there won't be. You're probably not walking in and making $300,000 in your first year. What I can tell you is that there are very few careers on earth where if you perform for 3 to 5 to 7 years, you can shift your earning potential this dramatically with no degree required to even get started. So let me give you the real timeline. And if you want the full step-by-step after this, I run a free training that goes deeper. The links are in the description below. Okay, so here's the honest expectation of what your career path could look like. $300,000 in tech sales is completely real, but it's a performance outcome over years, not a starting salary. Anyone promising it in year 1 is selling you something. Why it's worth the patience. In most jobs, your income creeps up a few percent a year. In tech sales, a strong performance can multiply it. My own proof point, I earned $1.5 million over my 7 years in tech sales. So let me break down this for you. As typically as an SDR, you will land a package, if you're in Australia, anywhere from 80K to 120K OTE. Now, we have a lot of clients in double triple that also have years of experience and they're landing already 300K packages out of the gate. So absolutely, if you got the years of experience behind you and you can sell yourself into that company, you could start on $300,000 breaking into tech sales, but you probably have more experience behind you. But if you have no degree or no sales background, or you're coming from, nursing or personal training or media background, and you're probably already earning only 80 to 100K a year, I can guarantee you we have clients already pivoting into tech sales, earning more than what they were already on. Typically, when you hit your quota, you go into accelerators and you can extremely make more than that. I have multiple friends in the industry that they're actually, total package is $200,000 and they're making $800,000 in 1 year. Now, this is rarer, of course. Only around 30 to 40% of account executives hit their quota each year. But if you can be the top performer in that, you can make a lot of money. Now, what's really important when you get into tech sales, you want to try stay at a company for around 4 years. I think one thing is that your shares and equity will vest over a 4-year cycle, but I strongly believe it shows a lot of dedication and grit from you getting through the ups and downs. And typically, if you stay in the same role, you'll keep your territory for 1 to 2 years and you can continuously build that pipeline over that tenure that you're in the company, which will pay off in the long term. So of course, it started around 120,000 when I broke into tech sales as an SDR. And then basically I moved up the ranks as a commercial AE, mid-market AE, enterprise, and strategic. So from there, you can really increase your base, but earn more money as you close larger deals. Now, typically if you age anywhere from sort of 20 to 30 years old, and of course you can be older than that, there's no age ranges typically, but I would recommend starting as a sales development representative. The core skills that you fundamentally build in this section of your period of career honestly goes tenfold when you become an account executive. Because when you become an account executive, you cannot rely just on your SDR to book you meetings alone. Typically, as an account executive, I like to say you're almost at a glorified SDR as well, but you are running the full sales cycle. But starting here will help you understand the AI tools that the company uses, showing grit and determination by, making cold calls, having those first conversations. How do you get someone's attention when they answer their phone? And all this, you also improve your copywriting. Because how do you send a message on LinkedIn or email and actually get a response from them? I believe these fundamental skills, if you ever want to be an entrepreneur or even go start your own business one day, I really believe these are fundamental skills you need to be able to build any product or service to get revenue in. Typically, as an SDR or BDR, you'll be in that role for 12 to 24 months. It really just depends on the company and your own growth. I strongly believe a 2-year period is great for someone to be in that role for. But sometimes you might not be able to get promoted internally. It just depends on where the opportunity and the growth of the company is. So if you feel honestly ready after sort of the 18-month mark in your company and you physically cannot see a destination to an account executive in that tech sales company, I would strongly recommend trying to look somewhere else to land that next account executive role. Or typically what happens is when you start as an SDR and you've had no sales background, no tech background, nothing, it can be harder to get, say, a tier 1 tech company. So if you're at more of a tier 2 or tier 3 company, I guarantee you a tier 1 company is going to hire you as a senior SDR and probably get promoted to an account executive much faster than the real fresh people starting out. Now, if you're someone that already has years of experience, I think typical roles like a commercial AE or a mid-market AE you can really land. Now, I think all titles aside, you really need to look at the size of the opportunities the companies are actually doing. Because what can happen is you could join a company as an enterprise account executive, but their largest deal sizes are 50K. And so if you go into an enterprise account executive at a tier 1 company that's like a ServiceNow or a Microsoft, these deal sizes are going to be a lot larger. So always when you're thinking about titles, you actually need to look at the underlying deal value of what the company is operating at. Typically, when you start tech companies as well, regardless if you're in an SDR or an account executive role, you'll get that base and obviously commission. But what typically happens, the company will pay for you to ramp. So over a 3-month period, you basically get paid out your commission to support you enablement and onboarding inside the tech company, because they don't expect you closing deals or booking meetings on day one. Now, the goal is absolutely to get to an account executive as quickly as you possibly can. So whatever you need to do, being a top performer, managing internal politics, and really being a team player inside your team already is going to help you get promoted to that account executive role. Now, within this role, I believe if you can honestly stick out the account executive role for around 4 years, the amount of opportunities that it opens up in terms of leadership or other parts in the departments of tech sales, it honestly creates so many opportunities for you in the future. Now, I have to say though, if you want to stay as an account executive, this is truly where you make the most money long-term as an individual contributor. It's the highest risk, it's the most stressful, but it also pays the best. Now, what's really cool about going from an SDR to an AE, typically when you're in other companies, maybe if you get promoted to a senior or whatever the case is, you might get like a 10K pay rise. I think what's really important in tech sales is always looking at the next achievement that you want to achieve and make it really clear to your manager and inside the company what success looks like for you. Because if you're wishy-washy about what you actually want, people won't actually know when to help, push you internally or give you, team leader stuff to be able to push you outside your comfort zone. And as they always say, you need to be doing a little bit more of the new role before you even start it, before you get promoted, to show that you can be trusted. Now, what I love most about tech sales and, the potential you can earn in there and just the growth as a human being, it doesn't matter around tenure. It really is, if you're hitting your numbers, you're going to have the opportunity to grow faster inside the company. Now, here's how the AE ladder climbs inside a tech company. So there's a real well-known tier structure inside the AE world. And each rung means bigger deals, bigger responsibilities, and bigger comp. Now, one of the things how I think about getting to different stages of the roles, and people ask me, how do I get to now an enterprise account executive? And it's really hard to teach and demonstrate the exact skills before you get in there and learn and do it yourself. But what I can tell you is almost going into a mid-market AE to enterprise to strategic, it almost feels like you're playing on different sports fields. Now, typically where you start from, once you land out of the SDR, BDR role, there's small to medium business AEs. So these are really focused on faster deal velocity. And typically what can even happen is like you're almost like a hybrid and you're managing the whole life cycle of these opportunities. Because the deal sizes are much smaller, you might not even have a dedicated solutions engineer, and you might need to even do the demos yourself. And I guess these, because they can close within 1 week to 1 month, a lot of the velocity of these, you have to close multiple of these smaller deals. Now, as a mid-market AE, kind of have bigger opportunities, and the cycles of the sales deal starts to get longer and longer. But of course, every time you increase and improve into each stage of the account executive roles, you're going to get a percentage on a larger deal. Now you have the third tier, which is an enterprise account executive. And this is really where the best of the company are working on. You have to make sure the sales cycles can be anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. And typically as an enterprise AE or a strategic AE, you have a lot of business acumen. You are trusted by the founders and the VPs of the companies that, you can go into the ASX or the S&P 500 companies and absolutely represent their company very, very well. You have to hold conversations with CIOs, CTOs, the board and executive members. And you really, when you get into this stage of the account executive role, you need to, of course, be making sure that you're doing a lot of discovery in these opportunities. But ultimately, you need to be a leader inside these rooms as well. When you go into a meeting with a CTO or someone very senior in a large company, they know what their pain points are, but you need to help them walk the path to get that deal closed and be seen as a thought leader in the room, that you can handle the conversation peer-to-peer with them. Now, typically when you get into these roles, you are definitely making over $300,000. I know so many people in the industry making over $500,000 and $1 million a year. Now, of course, making the $1 million years is not something that's super common, but it definitely happens a lot within the tech industry. And it's something where I know someone that has made $1 million for 6 years in a row, for example. So it's definitely possible. But what's really cool about tech sales compared to other industries is like you can almost be average and be earning $300,000 to $500,000 a year. Just for exact general market anchor on exact data, in Australia right now, enterprise AEs sit at a medium on target package of $300,000. And top performers go well beyond that into the 600K range as well. So the honest half of that, only about 40%, as we know, of enterprise AEs actually hit their quota in a given year. So that's not a reason to avoid it. It's just the reason it pays so well. And it's exactly why how you pick the right company is so important. Now the path up, prove yourself at one tier and then you climb up from there. So if you get promoted internally at your company, this actually is the best way to get promoted. But I strongly believe if you are ready to make that jump into larger deals, you can sell yourself inside to another company. I don't think there's an exact right tenure to stay inside a company if you personally know that you're ready for the next growth stage. Now, what is super important compared to honestly any other industry in the world is typically, if you're being a car salesperson or high ticket sales or something like that, you're not going to get equity or commission inside a company. Now, what is really cool about tech sales is that you get paid a very handsome base that honestly is so comfortable to live on. Like if you in Australia, the average income is around $75,000 and typically SDR roles can start at 80K on a base alone. So like typically if you're not even hitting your quota, obviously things will come in like, are you performing well? And that can be a risk to having to maybe look for a new job. But a base salary just in tech sales is already higher than the average wage inside Australia. And then what's really cool, obviously, about other industries with the equity and ESPP plans. So equity, if you work for a private company, you'll get equity. Then obviously they need to get acquired or IPO to make money. And so there's a risk there with it not paying off. But also if you work for a public company, let's say you go join a Palo Alto Networks or some other company, you'll get actually shares that are already, there vesting every year that you're there. And you can pull them out at whenever point you want, or obviously keep them in there if you believe the company's going to keep growing. Now, what is really cool, which is ESPP, Employee Share Stock Program, is really where you can buy the stocks of the company at a 15% discount rate before pre-tax. So that way you are buying discounted shares. And so they, depending how much you earn each month, 15% of your, earnings that month will go into stocks. And so this is a really great tax strategy, but also a great way to earn more money inside a company. Now, personally, I've worked for large organizations and also smaller startup scale-up companies, and so has Gabe. Now, personally, I love the mission of joining a more startup phase company where it's between 50 mil to 100 mil in funding, and you are driven by the mission as the company to try IPO or get acquired. It's just like the most electrifying time you can be in tech. You really feel like you're playing a team sport. And I really do believe being in tech sales, you as the account executive, having to be the quarterback and manage, say, like your solutions engineer, implementation team, founders, different stakeholders inside the company to get a deal done. I can guarantee you when you genuinely close a deal, it feels like the whole team has won. So personally, for me, just to round that out, the company I led at ANZ region, which scaled obviously from 500 people to $2.85 billion by 27,000 person organization. And I got over $500,000 in equity and shares, just a part of that outcome. And then you have Gabe on the flip side, where she worked at a public company, and every year she stayed there, she got just over $100,000 just for staying there in shares alone. Of course, you have to pay 50% tax basically on all these extra earnings, and there's ways, strategies and things depending on your own accountant and your own strategy. But of course, this is improving your quality of life immensely by just doing your job anyways. So when choosing roles, the equity story can matter as much as the base. So sometimes I've even seen in companies where there's it's very set on the base commission and everything. Like it's very, on the website, you can go look at how much they pay. So there's no room for negotiation. But typically what I've even seen, some companies offer a lower base for more equity, or you can have a higher base and lower equity. And I think it really puts it into the control of the person of backing the company and believing the mission of where it's going. Now, what actually moves you up in any sort of role, even if you want to stay as an individual contributor or even go into a leadership role, it really depends on your performance, and that's just full stop. The reps who climb faster consistently beat their quota, year on year, and they build internal brand. and be the obvious pick when promotions open. My climb started as an SDR, moved to a startup, and ended up leading the ANZ region for a USA company, and one of the only two of us here. So we closed, me personally and my solutions engineer, we closed 7 mil USD in opportunities. So it's around 12 mil Australian dollars. And for myself, we had to go out and really hustle to get these opportunities. And we were competing against like ServiceNow, Microsoft, and OpenAI when they came out with ChatGPT. And so everyone wanted to go build their own bot. So each different year, I had different challenges to overcome inside the market. And every single year, I learned more and more about myself and business acumen that would have mattered in any other role. And personally, like we've started Double Triple, and the whole sales motion, the business acumen, and really just the grit and tenacity and urgency and independence inside that role really taught me how to build Double Triple. And it's very successful already after 6 months. And I don't believe I could have done that without being in tech sales for 7 years. Now, there's no single right route. Some promote internally, some jump companies, and both work. And I get a lot of these questions of like, hey, should I move companies? I'm not getting promoted, or I missed the promotion, or something around that. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to you. And like, I think a lot of people miss how much internal selling matters and internal politics. I think at the start of my career, I was someone that was like almost resisted politics. And at the end of the day, you just have to play the game sometimes to get what you want. And that's not in like a narcissistic way. It's just like how the world operates, and how if you want someone to treat you kindly, you have to treat someone kindly, right? So you need to help sell yourself inside the company to be seen for that promotion next. Now, the realistic timeline and I guess the honest payoff when you get into tech sales, straight up getting to $300,000 a year is super realistic, and it can take, depends if you start as the SDR, as I said, or, you already come in. So we've had a client that was earning $200,000 in medical sales and landed a $360K OTE in their first year in tech sales, right? So it's absolutely possible. We've had clients go from 150K in like more of a tier 5 tech company to a tier 1 company on a 300K package. So it just really depends on where you're starting at around to getting into the role. So for me personally though, if you're starting as an SDR, like entry level role, give yourself 3 to 5 years to really start hitting that $300,000 as well. And that's like genuine performance. Like there's going to be down and up moment, and some people will get there faster and some people will get there slower. So for me personally, to earn over $1.5 million over my career, I was in tech sales for, just shy of 7 years, which was over $300,000 for 4 of those years as well. So combine that over time, investing into, stocks and properties and things like that. It was not 1 year, it took multiple years to build that compound as well to really see it grow. Now, the bigger picture context here is really around myself and my partner are in tech sales as well. And we've earned as a couple $3.7 million total in the time we've been in tech sales. So you think as someone, as the average wage may be being $75K, and when I first started in tech sales, I was earning $120,000, Gabe was earning $150,000. But now over a 7-year period, on average, we've earned over $616,000 a year. And so it's just like really incredible and mind-blowing to see how quick only like really 2 to 3 years can actually change your life once you get to that level. I think what's super important is like you don't need a degree to get into tech sales. In America, it's obviously a lot more competitive to get in, but if you can truly cold call a manager, send them a Loom video, show them tenacity of like you showing the grit, how you were competitive in sport, how you did things that were super uncomfortable. Like it's a skill and like driven by energy and passion to really do this role. Like it's a low barrier entry to get in. And it really is for the people that want to like show the grit and tenacity about improving their life. Tech sales has only been increasing since like the internet boom came out, and then we've had like software, we've had social media, and now we're just like in this world of AI. And so it's not nothing new, but it's only rapidly expanding how much companies are adopting software and why this is so prominent now, where you're hearing it more and more as a career as well. So the opportunity is like not too good to be true. That's exactly why I gave you real timelines and the real quota numbers instead of fantasy. And for me, I'd rather, jump into a career that I'm already learning skills straight off the bat than going to get a university degree for 4 years and then probably starting at the same position you could have 4 years earlier, right? And I think my own experiences, like even when I left high school, I didn't finish year 12 when I left in year 11. It's like I'd already started earning more money than the people that were going to do year 12 and then also going to university or college from wherever you are. And so I strongly believe if you can just go build real life skills, it's going to guarantee you more success in the future. And I strongly believe we're going to a more native digital world. And so anyone can really build money online as well. You can see more and more companies are going 100% remote. And a lot of companies are also going back in office, but they're hiring these, a lot of these companies are taking this model where, let's say they start in Israel or Silicon Valley, and they're deploying people all across in different regions, and they're just building their own little mini teams inside countries. So a software which is so cool, it can be sold globally. And this is why the profit margins are so high in tech. That's the realistic path to 300,000 plus in tech sales, where you start, how you climb, and roughly how long it actually takes. The one thing I want to leave with you, this is one of the only careers where a few years of genuine performance can completely reset what you're capable of earning. It's an industry filled of the most talented people in the world working with the best tech in the industry. If you want the full step-by-step how to land the first SDR role with no experience and how to actually get promoted instead of getting stuck, I put together a free training that breaks it all down. It's in the link in the descriptions below, and go and grab your spot now. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're sitting at a specific point on this path right now and I haven't covered anything, or you want me to answer more questions and you're breaking in or trying to look to pivot to an AE, drop any comments below and I'll make a video on it next.